Hello and welcome to this episode of Break Panel Sports. I'm John, joined alongside Joel. I know it's been a little bit for, I guess, our time, our standards. We've been uploading a lot recently, in terms of at least weekly. You know, the gaps have not been as large, and we were gonna have a good old playoff preview for this divisional round. I was unable to do it. So
I could
Joel, you
explain.
had originally planned on doing it, and I would like you to tell the story.
I
What
could
happened?
explain.
Go for it.
Okay, I am very sorry. Okay, however, I was not recording that twice. So
Yep.
what had happened was John told me that he had to work last week, so it was just gonna be me. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna record, and I thought I had the hang of it. So I was like, okay, this should be fine, whatever. I ended up recording a file, and it was like 25 minutes, maybe a half an. It wasn't that long of an episode. It was just me rambling to myself. I mentioned, what I thought was going to happen in each of the games and all this stuff. That's really all I said I was going to do. And go through the whole recording. I saved the file. The thing was like, do you want to import it? I'm like, yeah, I want to import it. I want to, because I want to upload it like this second. I want to
Yep.
upload it like this second because I don't want to like waste time or whatever. I realized after 5 seconds, it stopped it I don't want to say it just stopped recording. It was showing me the red dot, like it was recording the entire time. However, it only saved the first 5 seconds. So you literally hear me saying, like, welcome to Break Panel Sports. I'm Joel. And then that was it.
That was it.
That was
And
literally it.
then, so there was no
So,
episode.
so I texted John and I'm like, listen, I did it. I literally
You did
did
it.
it. I sat here for a half an hour and I did it, but it didn't save. I am not doing this again. Like, this is stupid.
The overlords at Break Panel Sports were very upset. Our high and mighty people that are above us, obviously, because there's definitely people that produce a show.
Couldn't believe it.
Um, they couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I would never want to record again after that." But
I sat here for a half an hour just basically talking to myself.
yeah, you were just talking into the ether. You weren't talking to
Yeah.
really anybody. It wasn't going to be saved anywhere. You were talking to the ether, and
So
the ether did
somewhere
not
out
want to
there,
record it for you.
so somewhere out there in our digital files and a lost file and a trash, there's
Yep.
just a 30-minute rant of me talking about the divisional rounds.
It's
That's
in
it.
it's in the drafts, or it's in the cloud. Maybe it's in the
It's
cloud.
somewhere out there,
One
but
of the
we can't
clouds that
find
got
it.
lost.
We
I
can't
cannot
find
find
it.
it. Tried
It's gone.
try to look for it. It was absolutely gone.
I
So
couldn't.
modern
I
technology is not here. Is not
I
ready
couldn't
to go.
believe it.
Well, it
Other than
kind of
that, I'm doing
sounds like
great.
yeah,
Other
you're
than
doing
that,
great.
I'm doing good.
It kind of sounds like some of these teams in these playoffs, right? They had everything set up. They were all ready to go, and then the Baltimore Ravens, they storm you out with the Houston Texans. And Lamar Jackson looked really good. CJ Stroud, we know he's going to be back. We know they're going to be fine. Those Texans teams are going to be really good going forward. But Baltimore looked phenomenal, Joel. I will say they are the clear favorite, I think, to win the Super Bowl, given what happened in the rest of the playoff games, all one possession games. This one being 34-10. I don't think you would argue with me that the Texans are the weakest opponent out of all these four teams as well. I would say probably the Packers are weaker, and you could even argue Tampa. So, your thoughts on the Ravens and how they perform, especially Lamar Jackson and this offense?
Well, first off, I want to say just shout out to the Texans, only
Yes.
because like here's my thing, right? And I understand, like, if you look at the final score, it was 34-10, right? That's
Yes.
exactly what the score was. It was 10-10 at the half.
Yeah, they were in it.
It was this wasn't like a blowout in the first half at all. Like, it was like they were in the game. They were in it. It was, it was a close game. It was back and forth, and then second half, Ravens just took over. Offensive line couldn't do anything against Baltimore. And CJ Stroud, unfortunately, no one's blocking for you. There's nothing much you can do. So I look at Baltimore. First of all, I feel like Houston was just like at its peak. You know, this is as far as they were going to get.
Yeah.
Baltimore, like, I feel like this is their year. I really do believe that. And Lamar, when's the last time that we had someone that it's not a debate who's going to win MVP? There's, we knew Lamar was
There's
going
no,
to win
yeah.
MVP. We knew Lamar was going to win MVP. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but we've been known this for like the past like 3 months.
I would say, or maybe I would say a lot. I mean, there was still Brock Purdy was the favorite for a while. It was still
I
pretty
mean,
much a
even
debate. But yeah, it was probably okay. Lamar's probably going to win the games he has to win. But in terms of, oh, we can just write off the award, that's happened before. It happened with Rodgers a while back, Mahomes a lot earlier. This was a pretty competitive race. But yeah, to me, Lamar was always the guy that I want MVP to win the
Like
MVP.
he's gonna be, yeah. Like, but it's not. What I'm saying is not. It's not a debate. It's
Right.
not a
No debate.
debate.
There's
He's
no
gonna win
debate right now.
MVP.
There's no debate at the end of the year. Correct.
So you see him. You see this good running game that they have. Their wide receivers are kind of starting to click a little bit. Like everything's coming together in Baltimore. I don't see many weaknesses on this team. I really don't. And I think Kansas City, when they're gonna face off against the Baltimore Ravens next week, even though Deion Dawkins was saying this last week, like it backfired, but really, good luck. Good luck
Yeah.
because that's kind of I don't understand how you can look at Baltimore and see a weakness that like you can capitalize off of. Like Baltimore right now, they're the team to beat, and I don't see many teams doing that. I really don't.
I don't see anybody doing it. I never saw anybody in the AFC even before. I mean, they're the one seed for a reason. They have played the best. They've been the best, and they've got to go out and beat the best. And the Kansas City Chiefs, after that debacle that was the end of the fourth quarter and all of the fourth quarter for the Buffalo Bills. But Lamar Jackson's on another level right now. He is not. He had a great game running the ball,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel like he's reliant on it anymore that he was earlier in his career when he was early in his playoff appearances. Now it's just his game feels so complete now that nobody can call him a running back anymore. I think that's been
Another thing,
decided a while ago.
I know it was the regular season, but let's just say Baltimore wins against Kansas State. Baltimore's in the Super Bowl. Let's just say they win,
Right.
right? You look at the teams left, 49ers and the Lions. The Ravens killed them in the
Yeah.
regular season.
Destroyed
They
him.
killed them. Like both of them, they blew them out by like 20 plus points. So I'm
Yeah.
like, wow. I'm like, literally, we could talk about the 49ers, we could talk about the Lions, you could talk about the Chiefs and Mahomes' greatness and all this stuff. I just looking at Lamar Jackson, it's not like, oh, well, they're the team to beat. No one's beating them, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think Lamar right now, he's due. It's gonna happen. I think he's gonna win MVP, and I think he's gonna win a Super Bowl.
I think it's pretty likely. Obviously, though, speaking of Isaiah Likely, he's a dog. But
Ah,
I don't think you can write off Kansas City. You can never write off Kansas City because of
I
who they
wrote him off
have
last week.
under center. And I did too. And you would have been able to hear the take, I'm sure,
Yeah, you
if
would
the
have
recording
known
worked.
that,
You would have known that, but we're just establishing that now. Shout out to Spotify for podcasters in the app. You guys do a great job of saving recordings. Not that time though.
Can't
So
believe it.
the Kansas City Chiefs Buffalo Bills, they took each other on yesterday. The all-time classic, the Brady Manning rivalry that's now becoming the Yankees Astros rivalry. Where one team seems like they're going to win, have a shot, maybe this is their year, and the other team just completely dominates every time. So Kansas City, I don't think either team really came out and played their best game of the year,
No,
but
I
it
wouldn't say
was a
so either.
fun game. It was a great game to watch. And it seemed that the Bills did everything they had to do for three quarters. The first three quarters, they ran the ball, they owned time of possession, they did what they had to do. And then Kansas City ended up going up 27-24, was going back and forth. And the running game sputtered and it just did not work.
No.
And on 4th and 5, it was like, okay, they're going to punt the ball to the Kansas City Chiefs. You got to get a stop here. And then I see a fake punt to DeMar Hamlin. And I'm just so confused as to what just happened. Obviously, it's because they had 10 guys on the field. The Kansas City Chiefs did, and you made that play. But you called a fake punt. It didn't even work. It wasn't even close to working. And oh my goodness, Kansas City's going to capitalize. Oh my goodness, McCole Hardman just fumbled out of the end zone for a touchback, and it's just absolute chaos. Buffalo had an opportunity. They faltered. Kansas City goes on to win the football game. It was just an ugly fourth quarter. It
It was
was a
ugly, man.
and obviously the Tyler Bass missed field goal at the end. Buffalo had a chance. They had a shot. They had a moment to go send the game to overtime. Wide right, the sound that has echoed in Buffalo ever since Scott Norwood missed that
Yeah,
field goal
Scott
against the
Norwood.
Giants. He's been redeemed. He's been revitalized, and now Tyler Bass joins him in the wide right club. The only difference is that this was not for the win. This was for the tie to go into overtime. So it's a little bit different than Scotty.
I was gonna
But
say, like, I feel like even if Bass had made that kick, I don't know necessarily if they were gonna win that game.
I don't know either. I think it would have came down to the good old coin toss, but also you have the teams get the ball back and forth, so who knows at this point anymore. But neither offense was looking good at the end either, so we'll see. But this game was interesting. It's another, I guess, game in the Mahomes and Allen era that we have been fed and spoon
That's the
fed all day.
seventh matchup, right? I want to say it was
Seventh
seven.
matchup, and Mahomes has just been dominant. It hasn't even been close. These guys are young. There's still plenty of time, but it seems that the Bills' window. I don't know if you'd agree with this or not, but it seems that the Bills' window is closing to me in terms of the team they have. How I mean, look at how old Diggs is getting. Gabe Davis is not
Oh no,
staying.
I mean, we could talk about Stephon Diggs. That man, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
he
he
did not
dropped the
look good.
ball. He did right, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Right,
he did not look
the
good.
Bills had that window when Diggs was good, when Gabe
Khair
Davis was going
Shakir
to
should
stay
not look better
around.
than you.
Khalil Shakir, I mean, he's a great player right now,
I don't even
but
know his
he's
name.
not. Shout out to Shakir, yeah, Khalil Shakir. They have an older running back. You know, they're going to get rid of Latavius Murray. I don't know how good Ty Montgomery is going to be. Ty John, whatever, and Ty Johnson's on that team. And I mean, James Cook's going to be a great running back, but how long are you going to be able to hold that around? Tre'Davious White's not getting any younger. He's injured. He's had injury issues. That linebacker core was beat up, and it's not like they're really sticking around. They don't have stars there. Von Miller is an older guy, so it's an older defense. The offensive line's fine, but Josh Allen's still Josh Allen. But you're going to lose Stephon Diggs. You're probably going to lose Gabe Davis. You got to it's a bit of a retool that's going to have to happen in Buffalo next year. And Josh Allen, you're going to waste years of his prime when you haven't even been able to win in his prime when Mahomes has been great. So Buffalo, this was kind of their shot. To me, for Josh Allen and his legacy, and even his role in the Hall of Fame one day potentially, he had to win this game. Josh Allen had no choice but to win this game for his legacy, for everything, every argument you could have against him, Mahomes, every discussion we're going to have in the future, every discussion the kid's going to have at the lunch table. This was the game that was going to really change things. It was going to turn the tide for Josh Allen as the Bills had a chance. They couldn't do it. They had it in Buffalo, Mahomes' first true road playoff game, and Allen failed. It's done.
Well,
There is no debate. Mahomes, it's not Manning Brady anymore. It's done. It's about Mahomes and Jackson now. That's what we should really have been talking about, to me.
see, okay, I understand what you're saying though about like the matchups and everything like that. I feel like there could be a million different rivalries. You know, when you talk about Brady and Manning, Brady and Rodgers, Brady and I don't like Manning, like or Peyton Manning, I'm referring to,
Right.
and Eli Manning.
Yes, of
But
course.
what I'm looking at with Josh Allen, right? First of all, now this may be a different way of looking at it. I don't know necessarily how things would have panned out had Bass made that kick. However, Bass last night made himself the scapegoat. He made himself the scapegoat. And because here's what I'm saying. If I'm Josh Allen and I'm sitting there in that locker room, I played a good game. Okay. I played a very good game. Everyone's blaming him. Nobody's looking at me. Like at least for right now. Like the heat would
I
have
think
been
we
so much
are,
higher.
though.
I'm not looking at him. I don't blame Allen for that
I
loss
don't think
last
we're
night.
going
He
to
did
blame him, but they didn't lose because of him, but they didn't win because of him at the same time.
well, the defense got to stop a
They didn't.
run, man. Like that's
They
insane.
do have to stop the run, but I mean that team had opportunities, right? When you're down 27-24, they had to respond. And then it was a 3-and-out to 4th and 5. They had to find a way to respond. Yes, Diggs should have caught that deep ball. Yes, he should have. But it's one of those games that we're not really worried about. We know Josh Allen can play. We know he's great. We know he's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame when this is all said and done. But when it
Yeah,
came to going against Mahomes, this was his best shot. This was it. And they had
I
opportunities
will
to
say,
score and
yeah,
they failed.
it's not a good look losing to them at Buffalo after you've been praising all week. Like, hey, they've never played here in the playoffs.
Right.
Never happened. We've never seen
Down
this
year for
before.
Kansas City.
But it was a down year for the Bills too, though. Let's not forget
Right,
a
but they were
few.
playing their best football in the
Oh no,
final
I
stretch of the
agree,
year.
but I'm saying like I want to say it was like week 16, week 15. Didn't they have? Weren't they like out of the playoffs? Like
They
they
were
had
out
a
of the playoffs
percentage.
for a while. They were
Yeah, they
pretty
because
near
they
a
were saying
losing
like
record after the Eagles game.
yeah, because they were saying like listen, they have like an 18% chance or so, I'm not quoting here, but like something drastic like that of chances of making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And like, they don't really know if the Bills are gonna make the playoffs or not, and then they do, and then they go on this run, but it's like everyone doesn't look all that. James Cook looks good. I like James Cook. I like Dalton Kincaid. I like these young weapons that we're starting to develop here. But like you said, the older weapons, You look at guys like Gabe Davis, who hasn't really panned out this year, really hasn't.
He was hurt.
Stephon
He wasn't playing this
Stephon
game either.
Stephon Diggs, I mean, he's not the Stephon Diggs that we knew 2, 3 years ago. It's just not it is not working anymore. I say if you're Buffalo, we got to go out there and go get ourselves a guy, maybe a Mike Evans, maybe go draft a wide receiver, go get another weapon here because the guys that we have, they're not panning out and they haven't been panning out. And if you want to keep Allen happy, who is the cornerstone of this franchise right now, you got to make sure he has the weapons to do so. Until you do that, I don't see how you can be blaming Allen when he's working with guys that are dropping balls like Diggs was last night. I don't know how you can blame him.
See, I'm not blaming Josh Allen for the loss. I'm not trying to say that this is on Josh Allen. This is his fault, right? But when your team loses, let's say if I'm in a class project and I'm the one doing well and the rest of my team stinks, I'm still getting a bad grade.
Oh, I know, yeah.
My legacy as a student is still affected by what just happened. So when it comes to us looking back on Josh Allen and the Chiefs and the Bills and the rivalries and his playoff legacy as a quarterback, we say, hey, he played great, but Mahomes was always going to play better. And when you see a win like this, that's what you kind of go out and say. Mahomes had to go make that drive. They were down. They were losing. They were getting dominated all game. And the defense responded. That defense is really good in Kansas City. And obviously you have the situation where the Bills linebacker core was beat up. They had nobody on that defense. They were not healthy heading into this game. But we're not going to remember that. We're not going to remember how injured the linebacker core was. We're not going to remember that.
No.
We're going to remember the fact that Mahomes went to the AFC Championship and Josh Allen, another divisional round exit. That's what we're going to remember. Because do we remember every Manning Brady situation and breaking it down and remember well, this player was out in this game, so that's why Manning lost this game. That's why Brady went to the championship of this game. And Manning actually had a pretty good record against Brady when it came to those playoff games. But right now, Allen does not even have a close record. So I'm just simply sitting here and saying, until it changes, until Allen goes out and wins a big game against Patrick Mahomes, I'm asking for those comparisons to stop now. That's what I'm asking for. It's not because of how poorly Josh Allen played. He had a great game. He put up 3 touchdowns, responsible for. But when it comes to quarterbacks in the AFC, it's Lamar and Mahomes now.
See, but okay, well, like when it comes to Lamar, right? Now I feel like you can make the exact same argument for Allen. Until I see him winning a Super Bowl, I just don't see how that's a rivalry. I don't see it.
Right. But
And,
I haven't seen Allen even make one.
well, that's what I mean. Well, same goes for Lamar.
Right, same goes for him. But now here's our game. Here's our game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they could, who knows? But I'm not trying to say that they're the same person to me. I don't feel like they are, like career wise. I'm not trying to say that they are.
Their
but
legacy's the same right now, besides the MVPs.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing. That's really what I'm looking at, because one of the things that you could talk about with Lamar is that he's won an MVP before. He's probably gonna be another MVP.
We'll have one too, yeah.
Yeah, but when it comes to Josh Allen, like no, he hasn't won an MVP yet. I feel like he could win one day, but
good.
Are we really going to blame him? Like, I don't view wins and losses as a quarterback stat. I just don't view it like that. And sure, yes, we're gonna, like you said, we're gonna remember the whole Mahomes. He beat Allen this and many times. He beat Allen in the divisional round. He beat Allen to go to the Super Bowl. Anything you want to bring up, yes, we could bring that up. However, I feel like looking at the broader issue of it, of like, okay, well, how good exactly was this team? I don't view it as Mahomes beat Allen. I look at it as the Chiefs beat the Bills this many times.
You're right. And I also view it in the same way. But like I'm saying, when people are going to debate this at work in the lunch table, we're going to say Mahomes beat Allen. And are we going to say Jackson beat Mahomes on Sunday? We'll find out. That's what we're going to say. Let's just take a look at the NFC for a bit before we talk about the conference championships a little bit. So the Niners and the Packers and the Bucks and the Lions. Let's start with the Niners. 24-21. I think Jordan Love proved to us all that he's going to be a star in the making. He kind of already is.
He's the guy, man.
He's the guy in Green Bay. Packer fans, please Be thankful for your general manager each and every day.
And Chicago Bears fans, be scared.
Be scared unless if you draft Caleb Williams and he turns out to be a stud, or if Fields turns out to be a stud. I think if any, I know everybody's saying Chicago Bears fans, and I get that that's the bigger rivalry.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Minnesota Vikings fans too. They don't have any hope for a quarterback right now. The Lions have Goff. The Bears have 2 chances at a quarterback. Can they mess this up? They probably will. So, yeah, the entire NFC North. I love how we singled out Chicago, but Minnesota, you got to be scared too. Detroit, you'll be fine. You got you guys on defense to handle this guy. But, yeah, it's going to be tough. Jordan Love, though, I think my biggest takeaway about this game was not Jordan Love, because I think we knew this already. We knew Jordan Love could play. We knew he was a good quarterback. We knew he was the guy. I think the Dallas game really stamped it, and this stamped it again.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, to me, I was already convinced about Jordan Love. Yes, this is really a lot of the times people have seen him on a national stage play really well. I get it. But he was always the guy. And I think he outplayed Brock Purdy quite a bit. And I think my biggest takeaway is Brock Purdy without Deebo Samuel, and this offense without Deebo Samuel is not very good. Not really that good at all. Yes, they had a drive. They won the game. They went out and did what Brock did what he had to do at the end of the game. But man, when you compare these two quarterbacks and how accurate they were with their throws and the throws that they made, I think it seemed that it was night and day, Jordan Love and Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is I want to ask if he's the long-term solution still. They're winning. Yes.
I still think he is. I mean, here's my thing with Brock Purdy, right? Like, I know what you're saying is when, if he didn't have these weapons, I don't know if he's going to be this good. If he didn't have I feel like you can make the same argument for so many quarterbacks out there.
I agree. I think it's a huge issue with the quarterback position in the NFL.
Like, if Montana never had Rice, we never be talking about Montana. If this guy never had this guy, we never be talking about him. Like, I feel like Brock Purdy, okay, if you want to call him I'm not saying you specifically, I'm just saying anybody. You want to call him a game manager or anything like, sure, fine. He's a game manager. You can't convince me that this guy is not a good quarterback, though. You have to be somewhat good. If this was the case, then they would have kept CJ Beathard. Then they would have kept Nick Mullins in San Francisco. Then they would have kept Garoppolo. They would have kept these guys if Purdy wasn't the dude. They would have kept Trey Lance there if Purdy wasn't the guy. You're looking at Purdy right now. I mean, I understand that he's had his moments where he'll throw 4 interceptions, against Baltimore, that one time, once in a blue moon scenarios. Purdy does not mess up. He doesn't. I don't see him messing up like that, like other young quarterbacks do, where they're honestly under the most pressure they've ever seen. And I remember Fred Warner was talking about this, where he said, listen, in practice, he's got to play against the best defense in the league. Us.
That's
every
true.
practice. He plays against us every single practice, and he's getting better every single time. If I'm telling you, me, arguably one of the best linebackers in the game, that this guy's getting better, you should take my word for it.
Yeah.
He's getting better every single time. The dude doesn't mess up. And I think, sure, yeah, you want to call him a game manager? I think he's going to be one of the greatest game managers we've ever seen, because the guy doesn't mess up like that. And if it continues, listen, the personal side of me, I want Detroit to win. I would love to see Detroit in the Super Bowl.
For sure.
I feel like a lot of people would love that. But realistically here, if we're talking about the 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens again, if Brock Purdy wins a Super Bowl ring, we're going to start talking about this man as far as a legacy goes for the 49ers quarterbacks. We're going to start talking about it.
I really don't think that he's going to ever become anything close to the Steve Young Montana conversation.
Okay, well, I'm not saying he's going to be like a Montana.
He's not.
I'm not going to say he's going to be anything like that. I'm saying as far as 49ers legends, I'm saying as far as 49ers guys, he'll be up there.
He'll be third. But also, how many teams have 3 really good quarterbacks that are Hall of Famers? Not many. So,
well, I mean, I'm just saying, looking at him, I mean,
Lamar Jackson's the best quarterback in Ravens history, but that's only next to Joe Flacco.
Something about Flacco, man. I'm just kidding.
Something about Flacco.
Something about Flacco, man.
I here's my thing though, right? It's where I go back and forth on this stuff, because we were just talking about the Bills and the Chiefs.
Right.
And you were saying wins aren't a quarterback stat. But the biggest part about Brock Purdy is the fact that he's winning, not because of how well he plays every time. I mean, his ball was not there in this game. He missed a lot of throws that he should have made. I think
No,
that
I agree.
he
I
did not.
agree.
This was not his best game. Yes, he had the really good drive that took the lead, and it was a great drive. Right, he made the plays he had to make, and I agree. I'm with you on this. But when it comes to in terms of okay, I'm picking a team and I'm taking Brock Purdy. I'm not taking him very high in terms of all the quarterbacks in the league. Are we going to look back and say Brock Purdy was better than Justin Herbert when this is all said and done? Are we going to sit here and say that? I mean, yes, he had a better team and they won a Super Bowl, maybe. We're going to find out. But I will also say there was a clear difference into how good he was without Debo Samuel. And yes, we say, oh, Montana without Jerry Rice, but he still had George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey and some really good players on this team, and he didn't look that good. So I am a little bit worried about Brock Purdy. I'm sold on him being a quality quarterback in the NFL. He can play. He can be a starter in this league, and he can be pretty good at it. Is he ever going to be an elite quarterback? I don't see him being an elite quarterback. I don't even think if he goes out and wins a Super Bowl, I still probably wouldn't call him an elite quarterback unless if he really shows that he is. Because you look at all the quarterbacks in the AFC, Stroud, Allen, Mahomes, Jackson. I'm not taking Brock Purdy over any of those guys. Not even I'm not thinking about it. I'm taking Jared Goff. I might even take Jordan Love. So when you really when you look at the talent wise, am I taking Brock Purdy? I think he still has to show that. And yes, they won the game. He didn't show that. Jordan Love showed something. It's a bit of an interesting difference that we have here. And yes, we look at the numbers. Brock Purdy 252 yards. He had a good game in terms of just winning the game, putting up yards and all that. But
Mhm.
you got to take a look at the arm talent and the accuracy and realize that he's not there. And will he get there? Will he get better next year? Will he get better in the future? Probably. We'll see. And he's got a great record as a starter and he's got great numbers and everything. But I think the jury's not I'm not sold on Brock Purdy being and when I look at the 49ers and say, "Oh yeah, they got it really good." I think, "Oh, they got a guy." Do they have the guy? We'll see. And if he goes out and wins it all, sure, they got the guy.
I I mean, you talk about your weapons carrying you, right?
Yeah.
Your defensive guys carrying you. Can't you not make that argument for a lot of other quarterbacks though?
You can.
Like,
Yes, you can, but I'm not going to make it about Lamar Jackson because he proved that he is
oh,
so much
I'm
more
not
talented
disagreeing.
beyond that, let's say.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying it's a lot easier to play when you have arguably the best defense in the league,
Yeah,
like the Baltimore Ravens. When
right.
you got a team that led the league in takeaways, led the league in sacks, led the league in like intercept, whatever. They led the league in like a bunch of statistical categories, like yards allowed per game.
Right.
It's pretty hard to not do well when you have a defense that will literally shut out your opponents.
So it's easy to win with that, right? But it's not as easy to look great. Brock Purdy won, but he didn't look great. Lamar Jackson won and looked great. And you look at a guy like Mahomes, he won with a bad receiving core. Let's be flat out about it.
Kind of sounds like Eli Manning. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Maybe it could be Eli,
The,
but
the
am I?
way the way you're saying it, I'm like, wait, who do I know that has won games, didn't look all
Right, he
that
won two
great,
Super Bowls,
defense
didn't look
carried
great.
you? That
Yeah,
sounds exactly like Eli Manning.
right. It's tough. I mean, but am I gonna? But when we look back at Eli Manning, how great? Yes, I think he deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame. But when it comes to, oh, he's
But
better
you
than
see
this
how
guy.
it's
Oh,
a
he's better
debate.
than these guys.
But like you see how that's been a debate though with
We have
Eli Manning.
debated it.
Like,
Yes, we've debated it for so
yeah,
long.
is he because nobody really knows. Nobody really knows. The only factor is like, I understand we're going off topic here, but it's like
Yeah,
the
for
only
sure.
argument is his Super Bowls.
Yes.
Will Brock Purdy's Super Bowls be the reason why we look at him one day if he continues this, the way that he performs, if he continues this all the way until he's like, 35.
Right.
We're
We'll
talking
find
about
out.
him like he's gonna be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Right. And will he deserve it? I don't even know. It's one of those situations where I'm not looking at where you look at Lamar, you look at Mahomes, you look at Allen, we even look at Jordan Love now, and we sit there and say, yeah, he'll get one, yeah, or he'll get a lot better. We're looking at Brock Purdy like, oh, he's overrated, he's this. So I don't know, I don't know where he's going to end up. I gotta see them win a Super Bowl, but I have to see your team. And it's kind of what I was saying about Josh Allen. I need to see your team win because of you, not not just you were there and they won, right? We don't, is Nick Foles an all-time great quarterback? No, they won and he was there and he did what he had to do.
They put a statue of him in front of
Right.
Philadelphia.
They put a statue, right? Sure, you can get a statue. I mean, sure, you deserve it. You won the Super Bowl, for crying out loud, right? But why did the Patriots won all those Super Bowls? Because Tom Brady made the drive, because Tom Brady was clutch. The Colts were revitalized as a franchise because Peyton Manning could make every throw you could ever imagine. The Baltimore Ravens were solid at quarterback now because of Lamar Jackson. I could go down the list of quarterbacks like that. But am I going to sit here and say, oh, Brock Purdy was the reason that the Niners figured it out? Right? They could have went out and got so many other quarterbacks and figured it out. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And Brock Purdy, again, it's a little bit of that thing because I've watched him be bad a lot more than those guys, the guys that he gets compared to. We can say, sure, Brock Purdy's fun. Brock Purdy's winning. Brock Purdy's successful. But when I'm talking so many great quarterbacks, let's say under the age of 25, and I saw Alyssa had him around third. I saw Justin Herbert at 5 and Brock Purdy at 3. That's where we need to kind of relax. Yes, he's winning, but wins are in a quarterback stat, and we need to use that in both ways. We need to use wins are in a quarterback stat because a lot of people like to use that, and I also use it when people are kind of overrating a quarterback, saying, "Oh, he won this many Super Bowls, he did this," and not kind of the other way around. Not, "Oh, well, yes, I think this guy's good," or "I think this guy's not good." It's it's a whole debate we can have forever, and you can look at the film and watch Brock Purdy play, but I still just don't have him as a top quarterback in the NFL. He's going to be a successful quarterback, but is he an elite quarterback? Man, we've had this conversation so many times about quarterbacks, and he's entering the list. And what usually happens? Those guys will win one, and nothing really comes out of it ever again. So we'll see what Brock Purdy becomes. He's kind of on that edge a little bit to me. Well, moving on to other quarterback debates we can have. Baker Mayfield lost to the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their magical playoff run is what it seemed to be, is now over. Baker Mayfield threw for 349 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but that Lions offense, they were cooking. Jared Goff did exactly what he was supposed to do out there on that field. They won at home. Detroit is moving on to the big game, the NFC Championship game. But this game, I think a lot of people kind of went into it saying, Lions are going to win by a lot. Tampa Bay did a great job in just hanging on and just
It was a good
playing a
game.
good game. It was a really good game. I think a lot of people were wondering whether, again, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team was going to be able to hold on and really win these games. They almost won this game. They had an
Yeah.
opportunity, and they could have called a timeout. I'm not really too worried about that situation. They're probably going to make the field goal win. Obviously, you always give your team a chance, but the Bucks played well, and I think yes, Lions, we expect them to win this game. I think you would agree, pay Baker Mayfield at this point. They have to.
Yeah.
They have to pay Baker Mayfield. And I mean, I can talk about his journey all day and what he went through and everything. Scout team defensive tackle being given up on by Cleveland, and then the drive from the Rams, which was awesome to watch. And then redeeming himself in Tampa Bay so far this season and winning a playoff game for that team, continuing their playoff streak, winning an NFC South title is not difficult that sounds to be, but he still ended up doing it. This is a great situation for Baker. The NFC South doesn't look to be getting any better, so we're probably going to see Baker in the playoffs. He's established himself as a really good playoff quarterback. Yes, that pick at the end was pretty rough, but it's just that was kind of such a do or die moment. It was getting to that point, and you make mistakes. The pressure gets to you, and they probably shouldn't have been under as much pressure as they were. But it's experience for Baker in these playoffs. He's played well throughout, again, his playoff career. The Bucks did what they had to do, and the Lions, they just did a little bit more. But Joel, your thoughts on this game?
I mean, look, I like Baker. Okay. Hell, I liked him when he was on Cleveland.
Yeah,
I always thought he was a good guy. I always thought he was a good football player, especially. And I will tell you right now, Tampa Bay is really dumb if you let this guy walk. You're really dumb if you let this guy walk. And I think Baker's also dumb if you leave Tampa Bay. Like
yeah,
I don't see how you're gonna find the same success that you're finding without Tampa. I don't see how you're gonna do that because here's my thing. You've established that you know the offense. You established that these guys they love you. I mean, I have not seen players rally around a quarterback like Baker Mayfield in a while.
Yeah.
And the defense is really good. He likes Todd Bowles. They like the coaching staff. He likes living out there in Tampa. You're gonna be a free agent. I find it hard to believe that Tampa's not gonna re-sign you in some sort of way or offer you a long-term extension.
They will.
I find it hard to believe that they won't. Look, man, like you need to do everything you possibly can to stay there. Everyone's been talking about you like you're a bust, the number one overall pick. Cleveland didn't really work out. You ended up with the Rams. It worked out, but then it didn't, and then they let you go. And it's like now you find yourself in Tampa. Oh, you completely forget about Carolina.
Yeah.
That whole
Scout team
Carolina
D
phase.
tackle in Carolina.
Right. Now it's like, look, you found a home. You found a place where you're actually finding some success here. He could probably win comeback player of the year this year. He's been so damn good.
Yeah.
Why not stay there? I don't understand why you wouldn't stay there.
I mean, there's no it's a mutual. I think that he wants to be there. They want him back. It's gonna work out. So how much money you give him? That's my question. Daniel Jones got 40. I'm still on you for that.
No, ironically, I was gonna say 40.
Yeah, 40, 45. That's the range expected.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say like a 3-year 120, maybe 4-year 160. That's what I was thinking.
I saw the Geno Smith contract is probably a good standard.
That's exactly what I was. Yeah.
And I think that's very fair for Baker. And if he,
but I feel like you just got to
well,
give him a good signing bonus, good guarantee, and then
yeah, they'll figure
then that'd
it out.
Yeah.
And for them to have found a quarterback, it's great. Yeah, go.
When you're looking at Detroit side of things, right?
Yeah.
First of all, the story is amazing. Everybody loves Detroit. I like Detroit. I think they're a good team. They're a great team. I am afraid about how this is going to end because you like seeing this run, right? It gives similar vibes to the Cincinnati Bengals a few years ago when, this was one of the worst teams in the league. And out of nowhere, we just add a couple pieces and now we're in the Super Bowl, right? I'm worried that it comes to a point where they're just saying to themselves, okay, let's say we'll go as far as we can, but can they go over that hump? And now you're facing the San Francisco 49ers. You beat them, you're going to face either the Chiefs or the Ravens. Like, this is going to be the hardest football you ever play all year, okay? I want to see them succeed. I'm worried that if they don't, they're going to look and point, okay, well, who's the problem here? What's the problem? What are we going to look at? Who do we want to get rid of? Who do we want to add? And those never end well for teams. It never ends well. And then you just find yourselves in the divisional matchups. You find yourselves fighting for a playoff spot over and over. And then it's just back to the same old Detroit Lions. That's why it's like, I want you to get the most out of this run that you possibly can. You got 2 games. Who knows? You might be able to win the big one and shock the world. You might be able to do that. Yeah. But I'm worried about what's going to happen if it doesn't happen.
If they don't win the Super Bowl, which is at this, I mean, all 4 of these teams, it's Super Bowl or bust at this point for their season. My thing, I do want to say, if you're a Detroit Lions fan, I think you're just kind of happy to be here. It's an interesting mentality from a lot of these guys, right? The Niners fans are like, oh, we got to go win it. Chiefs fans, we got to go win it. Ravens fans, you got to go win it. Lions fans, you're happy to, it's been 32 years. Happy to be here. But I think what this win against Tampa did for them is they got past the whole, we broke the curse. We finally got a playoff win in Detroit. They went out. They won another one. They showed that this isn't some flash in the pan. They're playing in the NFC Championship game. And to me, I think if they lose, right, if they lose to San Francisco, which is a very likely possibility because of how good San Francisco has been, I think Dan Campbell is a good enough head coach and a good enough culture guy to where he can bring this team back together after a loss and say, okay, we showed the world that we can play. Keep this team together. We're going to bring it back next year. We're going to go back even harder. That's the mentality I think Dan Campbell's able to provide for a team. I think it's hard for a lot of head coaches to come and do that, to say, we're going to come back and do it again, and we're going to be even better. That's what he provides. I don't think Detroit's going to have that issue like what you said Cincinnati did, like what other teams have had, what the Texans teams of old have had, where they would get to the playoffs. The Chargers, they would get to the playoffs, and then it's, okay, what do we need? Whose fault was it? Who can we blame? Who can I get rid of? It's what the Bills have been doing for the past 5 years. Who can we get rid of? What do we need to do? What trade? The Lions can say, "Oh, we know we got our guys here. We know we got a good group here. Let's keep building on it." That's what the Lions are going to do if they lose. However, Joel, and let's get into our predictions for the Super Bowl and who's going to make the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game. We'll start in the NFC now. I think the Lions are going to win this game. And a lot of it to me has to do with one, the momentum, right? Because you almost lost to Jordan Love for San Francisco. The vibe didn't seem as great as it usually is. The defense looked prone. And if Debo Samuel is not in the game, what we saw that whole game from what the Packers were able to do. If the Jordan Love is great, and that's a great receiving core. I understand that. But with how well the Lions played offensively against Tampa Bay the other day, they're a much better offense than Green Bay. So you can sit here and say, yes, the Niners have this great team, this great defense, but they looked vulnerable, man, without Debo. And whoever else may have issues on that team. It's a great team. It's going to be a great game. I'm loving these matchups.
Oh no, yeah.
But I think Detroit's going to go out and win that football game to me. I think they have too much juice, too much momentum. I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl.
I agree with you. Honestly, I do. I'm taking Detroit to win this game. I would love to see Detroit win this game. Now, I understand you only wanted to talk about the NFC, but I mentioned this last night to you in a group chat that we're in. I think, and the script would go crazy with this one. I think that the last matchup of the year, the Super Bowl, is gonna be what the first matchup of the NFL season was. That's the Chiefs and the Lions.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I look at Kansas City. Listen, I was concerned with Kansas City with Buffalo. That was the team that I was concerned with.
Okay.
I'm saying if you were able to go into Buffalo and win against the Bills of this nature, and we talk about, who's to blame with the Buffalo Bills, whatever. If you were able to win this game at Buffalo, I got no reason to believe that you can't go to Baltimore and beat the Ravens. I got no reason to believe that you couldn't do that. I would like to see Lamar in there. We could not have Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl, man. We could have it, but it could happen if Baltimore wins. But I feel like Kansas City, if they were to go into the Super Bowl and face the Detroit Lions, that could be one of the best Super Bowls that we see, in recent years. It really could be.
Could be.
And I don't know. I want to see Baltimore do well. I feel because every year there's always a scenario where it's like I just don't want to see a team win. I don't have that this year.
No, I don't either. I like all these teams so much.
I feel like any one of these teams that they were to win a Super Bowl, I don't think many people would be complaining. I don't really think so.
Not at all.
And it's funny because this is actually a down year for the Chiefs.
Right.
It's actually a down year. This is
maybe that's why
they're in the AFC. They're in the AFC Championship game, and this is considered their down year. Yeah. That's insane to me.
It's wild. I mean, Mahomes has always been in the AFC Championship game every year. I think it's because the Chiefs are underdogs that we like them a little bit more this year. It's also fun with Jason Kelce and everything. And yes, as much as people want to complain about Taylor Swift, it's fun for the advancement of the game. I think it's cool in that aspect. Yes, we should not be panning to Taylor Swift and Isaiah Pacheco scores a touchdown. That's a whole different argument you can have.
That happened last night.
It did happen. I saw it. That's what that was my first thought. I'm like, okay,
that was stupid.
I get it. It was right. It's just when Kelce does something, show Taylor. That's what we do. And I'm not because a lot of fathers have been able to connect with their daughters because of this, and I think that that's the most awesome thing that's come out of football in a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something we don't think about as much. Yes, all the people can say, "Oh my God, we're seeing Taylor." But there are people when they show Taylor every time. I mean, there's a father-daughter connection that gets built with that in those type of situations. So I can sacrifice a couple seconds of my eyeball seeing Taylor Swift in a box if that's what's going to come out of it, right? Because and you can say, well, it affects my viewing experience. Well, I care about other people's experiences watching that NFL football game. Anyway, let's talk about football like the people want. So Chiefs and the Ravens, I get it. And I think it's not a bad pick to say Mahomes is going to go win in the AFC Championship game, because how many times have we seen him do it? How many times have we seen Mahomes where his back's against the wall, where it looks like this is such a tough situation for him, right? Willie Gay is injured. Joe Tooney's going to be hurt. This team's beat up. This is the year the Chiefs go down. And we saw it with the Patriots so many times. right?
Right.
How is this going to not happen? But sometimes there's a team that comes along that's just too much to overcome. And I think that that team is the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson playing the best that we have ever seen him play. This is the best Lamar Jackson we have ever seen in the National Football League by a very good margin, even compared to his other MVP season. So we're seeing that player. Mark Andrews could be
I
healthy for
don't
the game, but Isaiah Likely is going to be outstanding. And this whole defense is just absolutely smothering everybody.
that's where I think this all lies down to. I feel like the defense is what's gonna make this game for the Ravens. Like,
Yeah.
listen, Lamar's gonna be Lamar, okay?
Yeah.
Lamar's gonna be the guy. Like, it's gonna happen. If this defense cannot stop Patrick Mahomes, the game's already over. The
Yeah.
game is over because you're not winning a shootout with the Chiefs. We've seen this time and time again. You're not winning a shootout with them. This this team will kill you on the shootout every single time. It's going to happen. And, unfortunately, like, listen, I like Lamar. I think he's all right, but I think Lamar's just gonna do what he's got. It sucks because I would blame the defense on this loss, but like you said, how people see quarterback stats, I feel
Yes.
like we're gonna be talking about Lamar like, oh well, listen, he was 1-3 in the playoffs. We told you this,
Yeah.
and he's not that guy in the playoffs. I told you, and it's just gonna be a blame of Lamar over again, even though the man is not playing defense. You know what I mean?
Right. He's not giving up the stops.
Right.
My thing is, I just don't think that I just cannot see a world where Lamar doesn't go out. I just don't see it with Kansas City. Again, they're hurt. They're beaten up. This is such a healthy Ravens team. I mean, the thing is, if there is a year the Ravens are going to do it, it's this year. And that's probably it. The vibe
Yeah.
is too great. It's football is such a vibes sport, if that makes any sense. A lot of
Hmm.
the time, talent can overtake, but if a team feels better, if a team has what we saw with Philadelphia, in terms of the NFL, Philadelphia on their roster, what they have, they're probably a top 3 team in the NFL in terms of what talent they have in their roster. They're a
You look
wild
at the
card.
most you look at like the recent Super Bowl matchups, like Philadelphia and the Chiefs. You look at the Rams and the Bengals, right? You look at these
Yeah,
teams. You look at those teams on those years. You could say without a doubt, even though like I understand like there's matchups where like oh this team could have won, this team could have done this. You
right.
look at these teams. I don't think anyone debates whether or not they deserve to be there. You know
No,
what I mean?
no.
Because like every single matchup, you're like, yeah, they've been good all year. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
they were the best team all year. Makes sense. Yeah, this team was the hot team all year. It makes sense. That's just kind of how it's been for like the most recent years. You don't see the seventh seed going on to the you don't see that anymore. Not really. You
not
don't see that
often. No.
happening. It doesn't happen anymore. Like without a doubt, the best team all year is most likely going to be the ones that are in the Super Bowl. That's why I look at Detroit and I'm like, oh, can they actually beat the 49ers? I want them to. I don't know. Like you look at, the Baltimore Ravens. I like Baltimore. I think they were the best team all year. If they were to make the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be shocked at all. But Kansas City right now just came off a win against the Buffalo Bills. Can't
They
at
did.
Buffalo.
They
Can
did.
that are they gonna stop that? I don't know. That there's no wrong answers here when it comes to who you think is going to the Super Bowl. There's no wrong answers as to who you think deserves to be in the Super Bowl. All these teams deserve it.
Yeah.
There's no one here that shouldn't be here.
I think even if you're a 7 seed, the NFC Championship game, let's say you won 2 games, I think you deserve to be there. But obviously, people are going to question. We don't have that this year. Obviously, we have Chiefs who are the Chiefs and the Ravens who are the Ravens. And I mean, I love M&T Bank. That stadium is awesome. I've never seen a football game there, but I've seen it a couple times. I've been in it a
Uh,
couple times on tours and when it's such a good place. And that environment is underrated. Those fans are wild. I think it's going to be a problem. I know we just had this whole thing, and the Bills fans are going to do what they do. But when you have that factor added into a healthy Ravens team, that's going to be great. And then the Lions are the Lions. I think, yes, it's a lot of the time it's a team that, oh, yeah, we that makes sense. I mean, again, like you said, either team makes sense. But I've got Lions Ravens. You've got Lions Chiefs. So the only one we
mm.
disagree on is the AFC. And I think we're picking Lions more so because we want the Lions to win. I actually think they are going to win. I think they're
I
just
want I
playing
want them
better.
To win.
To me, they're playing better. Even at the end of the year, they're playing way better than the Niners were. The Niners are way more talented, I think, but especially after what I watched in that NFC divisional round game with the Packers and the Niners and versus what I watched against Tampa, and I think that they're two very similar opponents. I mean, Detroit played way better.
Right, they
My
did.
only question is the secondary with Detroit. That's really it. And my question with San Francisco is the health of one of your best weapons. And can your quarterback overcome this? Can your quarterback overcome that? I don't really have any questions health wise with Detroit. I don't really have, I mean, maybe the offensive line, we'll see how they can get healthy, but I don't have any health questions with the Ravens. And a lot of the time, the team that gets there, it's the healthiest team. And you got two really healthy teams in Detroit and Baltimore, and you've got some banged up teams now in San Francisco and Kansas City. So that's a big part of what I'm basing this all on.
Mhm.
So it's going to be interesting. Joel, do you have anything else left to add about our great weekend we're going to have here in this NFL? Great Sunday, January 28th. That's going to be.
First of all, I'm gonna be very upset if this recording just ends up in the void and we can't upload it because something happened with the app or something happened with it. I'm gonna be very upset if we're
We will be upset. And then the ether
because
will never, only the ether will hear our words. But you're
but
hearing this right now. I got faith.
we got
Go ahead.
faith that this episode will be up by tomorrow. Um
Believe.
belief. I say whatever happens, there's gonna be a very good Super Bowl. I think
Of
it's gonna be a
course.
very good Super Bowl.
100%. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be great. But we still got two more football games to watch before that even happens. So they're going to be great. Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, and Niners. And then the Super Bowl. And then the XFL or the UFL.
Oh,
Well,
UFL.
I'm going to watch it. Maybe. We'll see. But anyway, that'll do it for this episode of Break Panel Sports. I've been John, joined alongside Joel. Thank you for the time out of your night, day, evening, morning, afternoon, lunch break, whatever you got. If you're in your car, shout out to you. That'll do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Joel, for coming on. Of course, we will see you another time.
Have a good one.